Okay, so this is one of the most complicated parts of the tutorial. This is creating the cart itself to display the products that have already been added to the cart. So we're going to start off with function cart, that's what we're calling it, and obviously our two curly brackets either side. Now we need to read in all the session data that's been stored and filter it down by what starts with cart underscore, and then obviously the number after this is going to be the items, so that we're going to know which items exist in the cart and how to price them, so we can price them individually, multiply how many, how many items have been added of that same item, and then add together a total. So it's altogether pretty complicated, but if you watch carefully you'll be able to understand it. So we're going to start off with a for each loop, and what this is going to do is it's going to look through each of the sessions, and we're going to use each session, take little bits of data from each session, and then go from there. So for each $_ session as name, and then we're doing an equal sign and a greater than sign value. So name is the name of the session, so that could be cart_1, cart_2, or if you've got more items, 3, 4, 5, blah blah blah, whatever. And the value is going to be how many items are stored in the cart. So like I said earlier, cart_1 might be equal to 3, depending on how many items we have. It might just be 1. The same cart2 might equal 3, 6, 10, whatever. So this is how we can split this data up and use this. Now what we're going to do is we're just going to test this. So I'm going to say echo name, and then concatenate has value, and then I'm going to say value. Okay, so after that, obviously a line break just so we don't run into any complications. So this is cart. I'm just going to call this from our index file, and I'm going to do a couple of line breaks in between the cart and the products themselves. So if I refresh, okay, so cart1 has value 10. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on T, so I'm adding another item. Go back, has value 2, so it's increased. Back has value 3. Again, the book, we can't change the value because we've already hit the maximum of 10. So you can see now how we can use this for each loop to display how many quantity we have of each item and display that quickly and efficiently. So this is a really, really good way to sort of view it. We obviously don't need that, that's rubbish to us now. So what we're going to say is if value is greater than 0. We don't want to display anything if the value is not greater than 0. And then we say else echo, and we want to echo your cart is empty. Okay, so if value is greater than 0, we do something, otherwise we say your cart is empty. Now as it stands at the moment, our cart is not empty, so we won't receive that error. We'll just do something here, which at the moment you can see is blank. We're not doing anything. So let's just bring this up and straighten this all out of it. Okay, so if value is bigger than 0, we need to say if substring of name, so this is, remember, cart underscore and then the number. So if the substring of name, and we're taking 0 to 5, so we're saying from the C to the end underscore, that's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we need to check that that equals cart underscore, then we do something, and we don't really need an else here. There's nothing really that we need an else for, because the point of this is you may have other session variables that exist from other websites or from your same website. It could be login data, it could be anything, but we only want to focus on cart underscore whatever. So now I'm going to echo out name and a break just to test that this if statement here has worked and that we're still including our cart data. So if I refresh that, we've got cart 1 and cart 2, so that's absolutely fine. This is working. Now what we need to do is we need to create a variable which holds for the ID of each one. So it's fair enough us having cart 1 and cart 2, but inside our database it's not stored as cart 1 and cart 2, it's stored as 1 and 2. So I'm going to create a variable called ID, which again we're using the substring function, and that's the substring of name once again, but this time it is 5, and then it's the string length of name, and that is -5. Now the reason we're doing this is because we could have cart_1. That's fair enough. We could just set this ID variable to take the last single digit. But let's say you've got an ID of 12. We're going to have to bear in mind that we're minusing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 off of it, and that's the remaining, so ID would equal 12. Hopefully that makes sense to you, that we're taking off 5 from the value of the string length of name, because we could have cart_11, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 removed, we're left with 11. It could be cart_2, we're removing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we're left with 2. So either way, this allows us to take the exact number from the end of cart_. So it could be 1,000, it could be 10, it could be 1. Okay, so now we need to create a get. In fact, let's test this out for a second. So we're going to say edit name, or let's say edit ID, or echo ID, sorry, going mad. Echo ID, and then we're going to put a break on. This should give us 1 and 2 on its own, so hopefully that works. Perfect. So we've taken that. Now if I was to come in here and change this book to ID of, oh, what have I done? Products. Edit. Okay, if I was to change this to 456, for example, so say you've got 456 products in your cart. If we refresh, okay, so they're in session data already. So presuming that your ID numbers wouldn't change beforehand, that was a bad way to show that example. So let me just change that back, and I'll create a new product to show you. So 1, click go. Okay, so that's back to normal. Now I'm going to insert another 456. Name, test, description, test, price 199, shipping 199, quantity 20. Okay, just for an example, let's click go. Okay, so now that will appear in our product list. Test, I'm going to add that in there. I'm going to go back, and you can see that 456 is there. So our function and everything is working, blah blah blah, everything's worked absolutely fine. Okay, so what I'm going to do quickly is just clear all my session data, just so we can start from the beginning. I'm going to delete that test value from the database. If you don't already know how to do this, what I'm about to show you is a great way to just clear all your session data. If you are developing this and you're struggling, we're just going to type, in fact no, we need it underneath this, so we're just going to type session_destroy. I'm going to come on here and refresh, and that's destroyed all of our session data, and now we can start again. So we can add some T, so now 2 has appeared, and book, so 1 has appeared. So these are the names of the ID, remember. Now what we can do is come down here, and we've echoed out ID, but we can echo out value, so we can see that there's 1 and 1. So hopefully this makes sense to you, I'm sure it will. Okay, so the next thing to do is create a query to get the data for each of these items. So now that we have the ID on its own, we need to create a query, so MySQL query, and I'm going to say select ID, name, price from products where ID equals, and then we can concatenate on the end of that. Oh no, it'll just be ID, won't it? Okay, so ID we've got here. Let's just include some security, so MySQL real escape string. Okay, and remember we can use that int there to make sure an integer is only being passed. What we can also do is, I've just realised there might be something else vulnerable up here. Here. Int. Okay, and int here as well. Okay, so let's go back down. Okay, so we've created this query that's going to grab all the information that we need about that product. Now what we can do is we can create our while loop. So while get row, this might look familiar from what we did before. Get. Now we can echo out, in fact get row, sorry, equals MySQL fetch associative array. So now what we can do is we can start displaying the data that's in the database. So I'm going to follow a specific format of writing this out, but obviously you can put these variables in any order you want. What I'm going to do is I'm going to echo get row, and I'm going to say name. I'm going to concatenate a times onto that, and I'm going to say get row, and we need to say, oh no, it's value, isn't it? Yeah. Okay, so it's confusing, I know. So the name is the name of the product times the value, and the value, remember, is here, and this value is how many quantity we have. It's cart1 equals something here. This here is the value. Okay, so this x is the value. So name of the product times, we're representing with an x, and the value, and then I'm going to say at, and I'm going to say get row price, so at this specific price which we take from the database, and then I'm going to concatenate on the end of that an equals sign, so equals. Now we need to find a way to work out the total amount here. So total, this variable doesn't exist at the moment. Let's just concatenate that on. We need to find out work out a total by multiplying our items together. So if we've added, let's say, 2 lots of £2, that's going to be £4 in total. So we need a way to work this out. And the answer to this is just above this, we create a variable called sub. And this is going to equal dollar sign get row, and that's going to be price times the value. So the price times the quantity that we've got. So the name of the product times the certain quantity at a certain price equals, and that will equal the subtotal. So equals sub. Okay, so let's just have a look at that and see if this works. What I want to do as well is just add a break onto the end of that. Okay, so let's refresh. Okay, so at the moment we've got t times 1. So obviously at the moment we've only got one quantity of each item in there, so we've got 1 of t and 1 of book. But if I was to modify this, if I was to add another t, you can see that the quantity at the top will change. So we've got t times 2 at £6.50 each equals £13. Now obviously at the moment we've got 6.5 and 13, when ideally we want it to show 6.50 and 13.00, and that's where the number format thing comes in again. So in the price we want to display this with a pound sign as well, so I'm going to say and pound, and then I'm going to say number format and enclose this, and that's with 2 decimal places. And then the same with the subtotal as well. We want to display a pound sign and number format, and again with 2 decimal places. So let's just have a look at how this looks. There we go, much better. Now in the next part we're going to be carrying on with this, but we're going to be adding our plus and minus buttons, so we can add more quantity and remove quantity easily, and our delete button, which is going to completely delete everything.